Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Firefighters Podcast, where we seek to develop, inspire, and motivate the world of the emergency services operator through a series of wide-ranging conversations. Now, before we go any further, just hit that rate, follow, or subscribe button on whatever platform you're listening to. It's a key performance indicator for us and helps us reach even more people. Now, here's what we've got for you today.
This weekend is a great networking opportunity to meet fellow women in the fire service. It's a perfect opportunity to experience the support and development that's available through women in the fire service.
I'm Clara. I've come from Gothenburg, Sweden. I work as an operations manager for an industrial fire brigade.
I've always wanted to do something that makes a difference, but I wanted to be a part of something that was a lot bigger than myself.
Hi, my name is Vanessa. I'm from Sweden. Work as a firefighter.
Blows me away every single time, just the amount of energy, just absolutely loving life, inspiring people, phenomenal role models, and just having the best time.
I would recommend to any male, female or individual within a fire service, if you've got the ability to attend a Women in the Fire Service event, do it.
This episode of the podcast is brought to you by Gore-Tex Professional Fabrics. Now, we all know the working environment of a firefighter is filled with challenges. We face serious risks on the job, such as heat exhaustion, burns, physical and mental stress, and we frequently come into contact with high levels of toxic chemicals. Now, I have been wearing Gore-Tex for nearly 2 decades on the front line, working in hostile environments, tackling challenging incidents from firefighting to water incidents and in urban search and rescue environments. Gore-Tex have a well-earned reputation for protecting professionals in the fire and emergency services through their family of highly innovative, waterproof, breathable moisture barriers that exceeds global performance standards and are trusted worldwide. Gore-Tex, going further together.
I'm Hannah. I work in control for the London Fire Brigade. I have been here for probably about a year now, but both my parents work for the brigade and have worked for the brigade for over 30 years.
So what made you want to get into it other than your parents?
Yeah, probably because they've been my inspiration to do it, and I've always wanted to do something that makes a difference. I was in a state agency before, but I wanted to be a part of something that was a lot bigger than myself. So
I always say people join it for the outcome, not the income. Do you know what I mean? Because whilst we don't get paid loads of money, it's like I came out of a corporate job and took like a 10 grand pay job to come and do this, and I was like, because it really means something.
Yeah.
Like, especially as a control staff, you hear that bang right on the moment. This is they're having the worst day of their life. So is this your first time at WFS?
Yes, it is.
What did you do? What workshops are you doing yesterday?
I did road traffic collisions, I did incident command,
Yeah.
and I'm literally just about to drive an appliance. So
Love it.
I am so excited.
Let's say we don't like favourites, but what was your, not maybe favourite from yesterday, but what did you learn most, or for people that have never been, what was like an insight you took away from yesterday?
I'll be honest, I think the road traffic collision, even though I drive every day, it was so good. They used the virtual reality.
Yes.
And
Did you ever go on the,
in the van.
hazardous attack machine,
Yes,
whatever it's called?
It was amazing. So it was really good to do that. I think it's a very new way of learning, and I think it's really effective. So yeah, I loved it.
Have a great day today, and thank you for your time.
So much.
So just give us names and where you're from.
Hi, my name is Vanessa. I'm from Sweden. Work as a firefighter now in 3 years.
Awesome. What about yourself?
My name is Therese, and I'm from Stockholm area and works as a firefighter.
You guys have come ages. What about yourself?
I'm Clara. I've come from Gothenburg, Sweden. I work as an operations manager for an industrial fire brigade.
Is this your first time at WFS?
Yes.
Yeah.
Awesome. Why did you come over? It's a hell of a journey to come and do something like this.
Yeah, we're all board members of the Women in Fire Services in Sweden. So we're here just
got invited.
gathering inspiration and for our own networking meetings.
So how long has yours been going on in Sweden? Is it kind of like joined up with the UK and you learnt about it, or was this just you were doing your own thing? Or
No, we've been up for 11 years, I think.
11 years?
Yeah.
Wow. Sorry, I apologise.
Yeah.
And this is the whole point of the podcast, is like we're all or I personally, we live in our own little bubbles, don't we? And we're so unaware of what's going on all over the world. That's why we have guests on from everywhere. So for so many people that are unfamiliar, help us understand a little bit about WFS in Sweden. It's 11 years old. What's the ratio of women in the fire service over there?
I think we're about 6% women in total now, a bit higher in the volunteer or part-time firefighters, and a bit less in the full-time firefighting.
Because it's a much larger volunteer / on-call / retain capacity in Sweden as well. And that's a very big part of the organisation. Right in saying that?
We have about 15,000 firefighters in total of all of Sweden, and 10 of them are part-time or on-call, and 5,000 are full-time firefighters.
Yeah, that's what I mean. So 2/3 is a huge ratio for you guys and girls.
Yeah.
So what have you learned from being here at the Fire Service College and seeing this? In like, what events might you consider doing? What workshops did you do yesterday?
I had driving clients, so I drive the truck. It was really nice. And then I had the trauma rescue, and nothing looks like what we do in Sweden. So
it's crazy, isn't it?
It was really like, okay, do I know nothing? This is something.
I would say like fire is the same everywhere, and bodies are pretty much the same everywhere.
Yeah.
And the way we approach it, you're like, why?
How could it be
Sometimes
different?
it makes sense, and sometimes you're like, I don't think that was right.
But you heard about the march before.
Yeah,
I didn't. It was new for me.
Yeah, our medical staff use it in the ambulance.
Okay.
But in the fire service, we were not working by that.
We
It's
always
an
use ABCD, so it was new for me.
The ABCD is the pillars of life. I think always makes sense. ABCD, and then they're throwing that catastrophic in the middle. But sometimes you get some people trying to overcomplexify it. Sorry. Sometimes I think to make themselves sound more important. But we all know how we're doing the job. Is there much of a trauma aspect to the job that you do in Sweden? Because like the American model, they're all trained paramedics. The UK, we do first aid in the fire service, but it's not inherently one of our core roles. We obviously.
It's much the same in Sweden. It's mostly first aid and waiting for the ambulance to arrive. Just keep them alive.
I'd love to see us upskilled. I personally like the American model because my brother-in-law is a paramedic, and I really would like to do more of that. I'd love to get trained as a paramedic as well. But anyway.
and that's actually quite interesting because I went to the WFS in America a month ago, and many of them were paramedics, and they didn't like it. They wanted separate roles.
Yes.
And I'm like, but why?
Because they get more calls as the paramedics, and they divvy it up. There's like they get assigned to the truck for the day, and there's only 2 of them on that, whereas the rest of the crews will be on the rescue tender and stuff like that. So it can be the less popular side of it. But I feel like if you get everybody to do it, then you just rotate around and it's kind of fair. But if there's only 1 or 2 people on station doing it, you get stuck with it every day.
Yeah.
So what workshops did you do yesterday?
Authentic leadership, and then I did promotion, being your best self, applying for promotions.
How did you find it?
Very interesting. The authentic leadership was very inspiring, and you just want to get even deeper into psychology.
I think the psychological aspect is huge for us. I think we focus so much on the operational capacity. We're like, learn how to do the thing. And I'm like, but that's not where we get it wrong. We get it wrong with personal relationships. We get it wrong with the behavioural aspects. They're the bits where culture fails, where teams fail. It's not because somebody can't pitch a ladder or wear a BA set. We're great at that bit. But having uncomfortable conversations, navigating the structure, projects, things like that, that's the really crucial aspects for me.
Yeah, true.
What about yourself? What did you do?
I did the same workshops as Therius. I really enjoyed the authentic leadership one. So many good tools for me to use in my day-to-day work. And
Can I try and tease a tool out of you? I know I'm putting you on the spot there, but like for people that have never been or people that have no idea what we're talking about, what would be one, if you said, oh, you should go because this is a thing I picked up that I could use? Is there any particular thing that you took away from one of those workshops where you're like, I think I could develop in that area, or I think that's a useful thing to try and use?
That I'm even more convinced now that the authentic leadership style is the one that I actually want to practice when I become a crew leader or something like that.
What do you think the difference is in being an authentic leader versus somebody? Well, what does that even mean?
I think it just promotes an open-minded environment, and maybe everyone gets to. It's a safe space. Create a safe space for the whole crew.
I always say to my teams, look, I'm happy to take responsibility if it goes wrong, but I haven't got to have the idea. I'm in charge, but I don't have to have the idea. If you're a subject matter expert in this, or you've run a project on that before, you can have the ideas. I'm happy to take responsibility. I'll give top cover. I'll be the umbrella if the rocks start falling, but I don't need to have the answer. Don't look at me for the solution. Present to me your logical idea, and I'll go yeah or no or absolutely or and I'll play that devil's advocate for it. But no, I think you're absolutely right. What have we got going on today? What's the last ones that we're doing today?
I have firefighter challenges.
Firefighter challenge.
So I'm a little bit nervous.
Why?
Because it's so new for me, and I am so scared to try new stuff. I don't know, but I'm so proud of myself that I'm here, and I tried so new stuff and met some new people and talked with them. Was social.
Just opens up your mind, doesn't it, to all the other stuff going out there.
Yeah.
I find that people, not for better or worse, but they work in their own service and they live in their own service the whole year. They get stuck in this narrow-mindedness and they forget how big the world of the emergency service is in the firefighting world as well. So really appreciate you all coming over and making a massive travel. I know we're bleeding into your time, so I'll let you guys get away, but I hope you had a great weekend and thanks so much.
Thank you so much.
So Chrissy, WFS, came down here to introduce everybody to all of the BFC world, the Welsh Firefighter Challenge world, the Cheshire Fire Challenge world. How did it go? You did it yesterday with a whole host of girls at the Fire Service College.
Yeah, so yesterday we had a group of 11 amazing ladies who wanted to give it all a go and hopefully get into fireground fitness training at home as well as participating in these challenges. Everyone had a fabulous time.
What did they know
Lots
about
of
it?
cheering.
Did they actually know anything about it? Because you and I live in this little world where we're like, oh, everyone knows what the Firefighter Challenge is, everybody does it, but some people see the odd Instagram post, but they don't actually know what it is. So what did people think when they turned up to it? Were they petrified, scared, excited?
There was a lot of nerves at the start. I think everyone thought I was going to try and kill them actually, but very quickly just had a go at the course. Yeah. No pressure, lots of encouragement. As is the case at all the events, and everyone just really got into it, loved it. Did a relay race at the end.
So were they actually doing it in the full kit and actually full on having a go? How much of the course were we able to set? Obviously we don't have the big tower up or anything like that, but...
So we used different elements from different Firefighter Challenge courses.
Okay.
Set them up into a fairly short course just to have a go at. Everyone did it in gym wear to start with. Mm-hmm. Then it was a really hot day yesterday.
It was ridiculously hot, wasn't it? I think it was like 28 degrees or something.
We had a couple of ladies that were keen to try in full kit carrying BA.
They had the BA sets on as well?
Yeah,
that
absolutely.
is a whole nother game, because you and I do loads of the training. It's like, yeah, you can run around with your shorts and t-shirt on, but putting these sleeping bag worth of fire kit on and then a BA set, 20 kilos on the back, really just breaks people down sometimes, doesn't it?
Yeah, no, they were fantastic. They were brilliant. And we also actually had a couple of non-operational staff come and give it a go as well. So that was really good to see.
I'd love to see some more non-operational staff come and do some of the BFCs and the Cheshires and stuff like that, because we can get so in our silo of thinking like fire service is just the tip of the sword operational people. But we always speak on the podcast about that wider fire family. So you had a few of them having a go yesterday as well.
Yeah, definitely. We had a lovely lady from the National Fire Chiefs Council, actually, who had never touched hose in her life before, and just came and had a go, which was fantastic. And that's what we're here trying to promote, just having a go and a bit of physical activity that's slightly different to just pounding away in the gym.
Now, I don't want to get ahead of ourselves, but I do want to throw the teaser in, as it is already floating in the mind, and Danny Cotton again has collared me this morning singing your praises and talking about it all. So is there very much a potential that next year at the WFS we may very well have our own little course going on?
I would say there's a high likelihood that there should be hopefully a competition running alongside the event.
That'd be incredible
next year. So
Absolutely
hopefully
incredible.
Everyone can come and give it a go, have some fun, and hopefully we'll try and get some decent prizes.
There is a big mountain of logistics and everything to get over before then, but if anybody wants to help out with something like that, or if companies want to get involved and support it, both from a WFS and a Firefighter Challenge perspective, would it be good to direct them to you or to WFS, do you reckon?
Probably direct to me would be fantastic. Either my personal, I'm on Instagram and Facebook, Chrissy Downer, or to get in touch with the British Firefighter Challenge, as I'm ambassador for women's fitness in the fire service now. It's a really good place, so if they get in touch with the British Firefighter Challenge, they can pass anything on to me from there.
Awesome, so proud of you.
Oh, thank you very much.
Kate Garrigan, I'm a watch manager at Leicestershire Fire and Rescue Service, also the Leicestershire rep for Women in the Fire Service.
Awesome. Kate, you've been coming to these things for ages, but I feel like it's still growing in popularity. I was just speaking to a couple of girls from Sweden. Their WFS have been going for 11 years, and it's the first time they've ever come over here. So I know we live in our own silo where it's like everybody knows what we do, but for anybody that's never been here before, what on earth are we doing over this weekend, and kind of what workshops are on yesterday and today maybe?
Okay, so this weekend is a great networking opportunity to meet fellow women in the fire service. It's a perfect opportunity to experience the support and development that's available through Women in the Fire Service. Yesterday we were hosting a road safety with virtual reality workshop. So as a
you
service,
had the big hazardous vehicle, didn't you?
We
I
have,
forgot
yeah.
the name of it, sorry.
the Hazard Express.
Hazard Express, yeah. That's
So-
awesome with all the virtual. It's got all the big seats and everything now, hasn't it?
Yep, so it's a one-of-a-kind virtual reality road safety experience where you sit in our movable seats and experience being in a car accident and then experience the extrication of the emergency services coming in and rescuing you.
I think that's really valuable because I want to zoom out for a second because like a lot of people think, oh, this is for firefighters. But no, we get all of our control staff, our admin, our HR, everybody comes. So that aspect of really putting them in the seat, putting them in the experience of, you know, because all these control staff taking the call, they don't get their eyes on and seeing what's happening. I think that's what makes it really valuable.
Yeah, exactly, and that's a great thing about these workshops. The workshops are mixed with operational staff and support staff, and it gives everyone a chance to see the different parts of the job and see things from a different side.
What do you think is your, if you had to, I know we're not allowed to have favourites, had you had a favourite workshop? Because some people have said authentic leadership, a load went to that yesterday, they really loved that, but a few have got the driving coming up today, they've never been able to do that. Have you got a favourite?
I think as far as myself over the years, I haven't attended any workshops this year because we've been facilitating. But
You've been busy organising everybody else.
We have, yeah. Well, that's the thing. This year, as a service, I wanted us to be involved in from the other side. So, as Leicestershire, we've never hosted any workshops. So
Yes.
It's great as a service that we're taking
You
part.
bring something to the party now,
Yeah,
which is
definitely.
always nice, isn't it?
Yeah, but I'd say from my personal experience, last year I attended preparing for promotion.
Nice.
I found that really inspirational.
And it obviously worked.
Yeah, helped me get my job. So yeah, definitely really valuable.
The final point I want to ask is you're obviously a rep as well, a regional rep, and I know we've just heard in the AGM they've promoted a few people, we've had a few people step up, but they are still needing a few reps. Could you give anybody a little insight in like how much of a task is it to take on, what value do you get, and kind of why you chose to do it?
Yeah, it doesn't take a lot of work.
Okay.
It's just a case of each service having a main point of contact for women in the fire service and just being the person that can pass on any information, provide details of any upcoming training and development events. I also chair the Women's Network within Leicestershire, so for me it goes hand in hand, and that's why I chose to be the rep.
Awesome. Thanks so much for your time.
Thank you.
Kath Billing, Chief of Cornwall Fire and Rescue Service.
Kath, we have been circling each other from afar for probably the best part of 18 months, and you are on my hit list, closely coming into my targets of doing a full episode properly soon. However, for the here and now, we're at WFS at the college. How have you found this weekend? How many years have you been coming now?
I think it must be about 9 or 10.
9 or 10?
Yes, yeah. How have I found it? It blows me away every single time, just the amount of energy. It's just, in excess of kind of 300 people that are just absolutely loving life, inspiring people, phenomenal role models, and just having the best time.
I think, like, every time I come, it feels as though it couldn't get bigger and or better. And then you see, I've just been speaking with 3 girls from Sweden and talking about their WFS over there and saying they'd never been. We kind of live in our own little bubbles where we think everybody not knows all about us, but like knows what we're doing, knows what we're trying to create. And then you meet someone that's never heard of it, and the energy they take away from it and the excitement they get from it, it's like a hit of dopamine every single time, and it massively incentivizes all of us to go that bit further.
No, definitely. And we were talking about it yesterday, actually. The vibe does seem a little bit different. It just seems, I don't know that it could get more kind of intense, but this weekend the vibe just seems to be very much, it's less, normally people are so nervous, but yesterday when I walked back from the multi-incident scenario workshop, walked into the Four Shires, just the vibe was just really intense. It was just so much energy, and it's palpable. You just really feel it. It's incredible.
I feel like it's coming to a crescendo because we've been working so hard on recruitment and awareness for women in the fire service for so many years, but it's now being met with like it's meeting at the fork in the road where we're now doing so much recruitment as well across the UK Fire and Rescue Service. So we're finally starting to see the fruits of that labour, if you will. So I think like this year and the next 2 years are going to be some of the biggest ones for women in the fire service.
I think they are, and I think it'd probably be remiss of me not to mention the kind of the culture and values report.
Yes,
I think
we've got loads of stuff on that, and it worries me, but I also feel like we're looking at things of the past, and I don't see that reflected in the women that I've been meeting today.
No, and I think what's happening now is women are very much going, do you know what, I can be part of that change, and I want to take our sector, our service forwards. So that's kind of how I think how the vibe feels.
Have you seen that reflected in Cornwall? Because obviously you're a massive ambassador for WFS, but you're also, in your own right, your own chief fire officer. And I'm not necessarily asking you to comment on Cornwall, but like when you see some of the national stuff around culture, I personally, and I know I live in my own bubble, I'm not feeling that now, and I'm not saying that never existed. It certainly did when I joined 16, 17 years ago. But I'm hopeful we're over the hill and on the other side of that now, due down to like authentic leaders like yourself really actually talking about it and doing something about it, not pushing it under the rug.
No, we've had, and we are having, and we've got our own problems. I'm certainly, absolutely aware of our cultural and behavioural problems, which, I've absolutely been really clear on. We'll address, with punitive measures if appropriate. But I'd much rather people, we kind of like learn. And one thing we are going to be doing in Cornwall is, which I'm sure loads of other services are doing, is rolling out, real expectations. So being really clear things about social media as well, just re-establishing the expectations, but also helping people to, to kind of get the confidence to challenge, because
that's the big one.
In peer, if you think about a watch, the strong peer group, how do you challenge?
I think as cultural architects, it's like the team should self-regulate. I mean, if 100%, if I as a watch commander need to come and do something about it, I'm 100% going to do something about it. I've had to do it a couple of times in the last 3 years. But I'd hate if I did. I remember having Dave Etheridge on the podcast for Practice to Progress, and he was saying only 3 or 4 times in his career did he ever have to sack somebody, and he said of all those 4, 3 of them never should have come to me. It's about people avoiding uncomfortable conversations, and that's the bit we focus so much on the operational, like, oh, you're great at BA and hazmat and RTC, and you're a great fire investigator. But that's not where we fail. No one's saying we're rubbish at that. We're struggling with having those uncomfortable conversations. And I think I saw some of that in the Authentic Leadership workshop about the social interactions, the behavioural cues, asking open questions, challenging things in a healthy manner. Like, how do you do it? Because we know viscerally when something feels wrong, okay, and then what's the end? How do you actually start that conversation?
Absolutely. I think the key thing for me is as services and as chiefs, we need to invest in, I call it a cultural competence, because, if you take like, our learning from national incidents, implementation of national operational guidance, loads of different changes through fire safety regulation done. We're smashing it out. But when you look at,
we grab that low-hanging fruit. I'm not saying those things are easy. They took a lot of people and resources, but they were also let's do that because it's not personal. I always think when I do 360 feedback from someone, if they're ever pushed back against it, I may have delivered it wrongly. However, sometimes because it feels like a personal attack. Actually, Catherine, do you know the way you spoke to someone then? What was your intended impact versus the impact they actually felt? How did you want that conversation to go?
Most people don't intend to have a negative impact. No. And exactly that. It's about...
But they have a narrow window of emotional intelligence, which sounds very condescending, and I don't mean it to say that way, but when you say, like, culturing, cultivating culture and, like, growing in that aspect, it really is all about emotional insurance.
Yeah, and also, as well, so when, if you think about kind of the LGBT movement, if you think about Black Lives Matters, if you think about people now, we talk about misogyny a lot, but have we ever sat down with firefighters and talked about it in the context of their professional...
Otherwise it's buzzword bingo.
Absolutely, yeah. If we actually ever sat down and said, Black Lives Matters is important in the context of being an operational firefighter because, black people
helping
do
them
not
connect the dots, because otherwise they're crossing the chasm. It's like they're looking at things in the distance and going, yeah, equality is important, yeah, black lives are important, but how does that relate to you?
Yeah.
And you're like, well, I don't know, because I just like put out fires, don't I? I'm like, no, you're missing all the dots, and it's my fault. We've lost each other through the fog from there to here.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Our hands have separated at some point, and you've missed the thread of how that does genuinely impact your ability to connect with your community and reflect the values. That's where the chasm is created, I think.
Yeah. And that's what I call cultural competence. We need to, we need to take the cultural competence and cultural learning of our firefighters and everybody across our fire services equally as important as the operational training.
Could I ask you for 1 second? I know we're going to go down this rabbit hole, but whenever you've received feedback with your own cultural competence, perhaps, because I'm sure the Catherine of 10 years ago would have been a very different lady stood before me, and her emotional intelligence would have been different, and her drives and motivations would have been different. Like, how is yours calibrated? Because I think, we say WFS, you've got to see it to be it. Like, how has your maturity or awareness changed throughout your career? And maybe any tips or tricks for people that want to get a bit more self-awareness?
It's changed a lot, and because I'm chief in my organisation that I joined as an on-call firefighter. I regularly sit with new supervisory managers and say, my behaviour of 20 years ago is very different. And when you kind of step into first line management, especially, you will basically, you won't be running with the pack anymore. And it's easy. People will say to you, if you try to challenge something, they'll say,
Oh, you've changed.
All right. Yeah. Oh, it was all right last week, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And I said, you've then just got to say, it was.
Yeah.
Be it you've got to own the honesty. It was, but you know what? Now, I'm not different, but I've learned that I've got a different level of responsibility.
Yeah.
And I now need to, basically, I know the stuff I did was unacceptable. I own it, but I've learned and I'm moving on.
I think it tightens up your moral compass as well.
Yeah,
I think your moral compass is always there. I think firefighters, on the whole, those are doing it for good intentions.
Oh, yeah.
But there's the odd bad one that does it with malicious intent and things like that. But mostly, their moral compass is in the right direction.
Totally.
It just span at some point, a magnet passed them, or something happened, and their compass flew off. But as you calibrate it,
or even I think sometimes it's just the incremental movements.
Yeah.
And then almost.
You don't realise you're so far off path.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Myself now, I can't obviously. Well, not obviously, but do come under a lot of kind of criticism, and you're constant, just through social media and bits, you're kind of going, is that, isn't it? I do 360 appraisals, done that for about 3 years anyway, and that's probably when somebody's onto something because you want to push back on it. You read it and go,
it triggers you.
Oh, that's not true.
Yeah.
And then you go, all right, hang on a minute, right? Yeah, think about that, because if something makes you have that reaction, then probably there's a lot of truth in it.
I think a lot of services aren't yet doing things like 360 feedback. So for anybody that's unfamiliar, I did it a lot in my private career, but it's still quite new to people, and we hear feedback as criticism. But what does 360 feedback look like to you? And if someone wanted to do it as a micro case, because some people expect development to be imposed upon them by the service, but I says no, it's the clue's in the name, it's personal development.
Absolutely.
If you want 360, you can run it for yourself. How would you go about it for someone that knows nothing about it?
So what I did was I looked at the National Fire Chiefs Council leadership framework and basically kind of picked out some of the bits in there. So am I inclusive leader, and some of the other kind of bits. So looked at where I am in the kind of framework, and then picked out some of the questions, stuck it in a Microsoft form, and then bish bosh bash, people kind of.
And do you do that anonymously with people? Or
so you can either do it anonymously or people, because what I've done previously is what I say is if you'd like to leave your name.
Yeah.
And you want to discuss some of the part, you want to go into some more detail and discuss some of the bits with me, then you can do that. So some are anonymous, and some people say I'd like to meet up and talk a bit more. And you've just got to, like I said, some of the bits you read make you go, oh, that's not true. But they're the bits you concentrate on. But do you know what? Actually, feedback's not always bad. You do get people that are saying, I always pick people as well that are not my go-to people.
I was going to say, who would you solicit the feedback from?
Yeah, I always go to the people that maybe I don't have as much connection with, or people that I know that maybe not always we kind of see, we agree on everything.
I always say to people, I do it with like 2 people from my watch,
Yeah.
1 person from another station, but maybe on the same watch, so maybe I've seen them on a few incidents. Someone I've done a project with, like someone in control, community safety, HR, whatever, and then like a brand new recruit, maybe I've had 1 or 2 interactions with. Have some senior, have some lower. Don't just choose your mates. There's no value for you or for them, really.
Because I work in the council as well, kind of I work across other teams.
Perfect.
So
Perfect.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's kind of, so with my peers, that's quite big. So I don't choose my peers kind of, or my immediate team. So
I can have my deps and the
Yeah,
person that works for me. Because it's hard for somebody like you to have somebody senior give you feedback. So that might be from your, like you say, from your local council or something.
Absolutely, yeah.
Love it. What have people got to look forward to for next year? Because I know you're still
next
big
year.
into all of your fitness and stuff like that. And we were speaking about the fact that British Firefighter Challenge, we're going to come down and it sounds like through Danny and yourself and the team, we're going to run something maybe.
Absolutely. Right, bringing, as you said, really kind of almost bringing 3 causes together, isn't it? Really.
Yes.
So firefighter fitness, cancer awareness, and breast cancer awareness, and WFS. Why not? Let's smash 3.
I think it's a beautiful
I think
trifecta.
what you said was perfect. Yeah.
Catherine, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
So just give us who you are and where you're from.
Hi, my name is Divine Zaig and I actually belong to the London Fire Brigade.
And what's your role with WFS?
I am the Executive Committee member. I'm also the Queen of Merchandise and Raffle.
Queen of Merchandise. Did you come up with that title yourself? I love it.
My son did.
I love it. What about yourself, my love?
I'm Emma Smith and I'm Marketing and Communications Officer for WFS.
So Emma, obviously we spoke to a bunch of people from WFS this weekend. Tell us a little bit more about the merch side of it, because I've seen everybody walking around with these awesome hoodies, t-shirts. I've just nabbed myself the nicest, biggest pink one that I could get my hands on. Obviously, it's not for profit, so all the money goes back into the organisation. But could you help us understand a little bit about sort of what it's all about, how much we've managed to raise, and where people can get hold of it, I suppose?
Yeah, so we have merch most years at WFS, but this year we've totally revamped and we've added some new colours, because one of the biggest requests was colour. Yes. So that's one of the things that you will notice about our merch this year is colour. So yes, totally revamped. We now have an online shop that's done by our supplier, which can be ordered online, which is really exciting. And
I need to talk to you about that in terms of doing some work together with the podcast to help promote WFS as well, because your online shop's really good. How can people find that, sorry?
So they can go to Kit Factory's website and then look for a club shop, and we are under the club shop as WFS. And they can get all our merchandise on there. So they have hats, jumpers, T-shirts, zip hoodies, crew necks, you name it, we have it.
So we'll put the note, give me the link for that. You send me the link and
Yes.
we'll put that in the notes of the podcast. Devon, help me understand a little bit more about WFS and how we are sort of making this a better platform for people to be able to engage with some of the stuff.
Right. One of the things is there's a load of people that sometimes come on their own.
Yes.
So the first point of contact could be not after the registration desk, is coming to see us at the merchandise stand, so we engage with them, talk to them. We also talk.
You're kind of tip of the sword. You're the kind of the first line of defence where people bomb-burst on with a load of questions.
Exactly. And I'm going this way, that way. And one of the things that we do, which is dear to my heart, we actually hold a raffle.
Yes.
And the raffle is always the main charity is always a firefighters charity, and then we have meetings to pick another charity, and we usually share the proceeds. For this year, we've actually done it for Derbyshire Air Ambulance.
Okay. Why did you choose them?
Because Alison Hill, who's a watch manager for Derbyshire, she was injured in an RTC.
Wow.
And the air ambulance was used, and unfortunately she lost her arm.
She lost her arm?
Yeah, she lost her arm in the RTC.
She's still in the job?
Well, she's recuperating at the moment.
When was it, sorry?
It was in March.
Sorry, I read about that. Yes.
Yeah.
Crikey, I didn't know her name.
Yeah, it was in March. So when we spoke to her about giving her, saying that we would help with her GoFundMe page, she actually said, no, can you give it to the air ambulance? So that's what we've done. And so half the proceeds going to the firefighters charity, which no doubt she will be using,
yes,
which some of us have used. I used last year.
Always surprised me how few people know about the firefighters charity still. I snapped my patella tendon in my knee last year, and it's the first time I'd ever used it, and some people are still so unaware of it.
Yeah, and you get some people going, oh, well, I don't deserve going. But it's not just about physical, it's about mental as well.
It's not just about you. It's you and your family, your loved ones, your children, your parents. Loads of people can access the support of it.
Yeah, which I've seen, which is really grand, because when I went, I thought it's all going to be firefighters, and it's like, oh no, my husband's in the job. Oh
That's
no,
it.
thing like that, and it's a really great place for you to recuperate, where you're in a safe space, and also there's someone there 24 hours a day, just in case you get lonely, you get up in the middle of the night and you can't sleep. There's nurses down the thing. So we give to quite worthwhile charity.
So we did like £1,000 yesterday, and I think it was £300 an hour this morning or something like that. How can people maybe find out? Was the raffle just done over the weekend?
Yeah,
or?
The raffle's done over the weekend. So when you come in on Friday, I start chasing people for money. So give me your money. And up to Saturday night before we call the raffle, so we usually call about 9:30.
Okay.
Raffle tickets are given out, but our raffle tickets are in a 2-box thing. One, you do the golden raffle tickets, and now those are the really expensive tickets, people.
What's up for grabs? What did people get? What was given away last night?
Printer, the meerkat. So that
The meerkat's always popular.
Let me tell you, that meerkat, you could have your service badge put on it, and also a Kindle Fire and a bottle of champagne. That was on the £2 golden raffle, and then
How long did the champagne last?
Already gone. Already gone.
I think before they'd sat down, half of it was gone. But
and then the £1 raffle tickets. But also, I want to thank everybody for all the donations that are made towards the raffles in order for us to run.
If there's any organisations or companies listening that want to support and maybe want to donate a raffle prize, how can they get involved?
Yes, please.
Who do they need to contact? How do they contact
If
you?
they contact WFS.
Okay. On the website, is the email on the website?
It's contact@wfs.org.uk.
Okay, we'll stick that link in the notes as well. Any closing points, anything you think we've left out that we need to make sure people are aware of?
So the merch that we did this morning, so we did £600 just this morning on merch. It's been really successful. So if you want to support WFS, buy our merch.
Love it. Thanks so much, girls. Really appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hi, my name's Antonia. I am a firefighter in East Sussex Fire and Rescue Service. I have been retained or on call for about 8 years now.
Yes.
And I went whole time during COVID, so I started on a fixed term contract. My husband was furloughed during COVID, so I went and got a fixed term contract.
Congratulations on getting whole time as well. What made you want to first join it? Because 8 years ago is a long time ago.
I didn't want to join it, no. I was really happy being on call. I had another job. I was a sports massage therapist and really, really happy. But COVID hit. I had to give up my sports massage. Still on call, but the calls had dropped massively because there was such wide availability throughout the service. So we weren't getting many calls. Wasn't earning that much money. A friend of mine, Anne, who's also at Burwash as a firefighter retained, she said, we've got space on our watch for 3 months. Do you want to come and do it? And I said, well, I'll do that. Yeah, cool. So I went on Blue Watch down at the Ridge in Hastings, and I never left. I went fixed term for about a year, and then the process opened to transfer from on-call to whole-time. So I interviewed, and I got in the pool, and they gave me the Blue Watch job. So I never went anywhere.
Jules is saying there's something quite rare about your station as well, because you've got like 3 women on your on-call station as well. 4 women, I apologise.
Yeah, no, I was the third to join, so we had 2 women before me, Anne and Denise.
Yeah.
Yeah, and now we have another lady as well, Syra, and we are 50-50 now, because we've only got about 8 on our
That's what I love so much about all the work that's been going on for the last decade and raising that awareness aspect of it. What did you think the job was going to be like coming into it versus what it is now? And also, you have a family as well, so that would have played into how you navigated that. Because these are things where people think, oh, well, what if I want to have children, or what if I want to do this? The fire service is also macho, and it won't be sustainable for me.
So I joined the service pre-children, and I didn't really have any expectation. I saw a billboard outside our village advertising for firefighters, and I thought, I could do that.
Yeah.
I'm a bit like that. I just think, I'll give that a go.
I love that.
I'll try and do that.
I have that naive optimism with everything.
Completely, absolute naive optimism. I had no expectation of
same.
what it was like. But what I did know was that a lady called Denise was already at the station, and I knew her husband. And so I thought, well, she can do it. I'll give it a go. You know.
Yeah.
So I did, and I got in and loved it. And then I realised there were 2 other women as well, and I thought, wow, this is cool. It must be something women do.
How was basic training for you?
Hard. Hard as a woman. It's hard to be strong enough.
So the physical aspect was the big one.
The physical aspect was hard. I had to train harder than everybody else to get myself ready, but I did train harder. I did it. I probably didn't find it as easy as some of the guys that were physically stronger than me. However, I fit through all the small gaps. And I can speak to people. I'm quite articulate, so I don't have a problem there. I already had my LGV licence, so I could drive the truck. Yeah, so all those little things, because I'm quite a practical person, went in my favour. I did struggle a little bit with the strength, but over the years I've worked.
I find though a lot of women, sometimes once they're in, they actually excel because they almost start from a running start. And what I mean by that is, they have to try so much harder sometimes to get to the start line. So sometimes by the time they get to the start line, they're genuinely focused. They're really on it. Do you know what I mean? They're really and they know the importance of it. Some men, with the greatest respect, and I put myself in that bucket, kind of swagger into it and think they're just going to nail it and come off the bat with it. And then we tend to struggle with onboarding and encoding some of the information because we're not always paying attention as much. Whereas I find generally, and you shouldn't generalise, but women are a lot more switched on and they tend to pick up some of the theoreticals and some of the more sort of functional elements because they are paying attention a bit more.
Yeah, paying attention. And I think we also feel going into it we're slightly on the back foot because we're up against it with big, strong, burly men and the male environment. So I think we do put that little bit more effort in. And again, that's generalising, isn't it? But I think we probably feel that we have to because we don't want to be a stereotypical woman that isn't strong enough and can't do the job. We're there because we really,
but there's loads
really
of guys
want
that
to
struggle
do
with
the
that
job.
aspect of it as
We're
well.
not there because we maybe just thought we'd give it a go. We really want to do it. Aside, I did just want to give it a go when I saw the retained billboard. But as soon as I saw what was involved, you've got the written test, you've got the physical test, you've got the interviews. It is such a process to get in. You've got to give it your all.
And even once you're in, like even for the on-call thing, the training aspect of it, and the amount of time you have to take out in that first year from your life and your family and your work.
Yeah, the 2-week BA. So I was up at the Fire Service College for my BA 2-week initial. So I was away from home doing it. Actually, it was an amazing experience. I would come back to the Fire Service College all day long to do it. But yeah, and it is. It's a lot of time away from home. It's a lot of time away from your full-time job if you're self-employed.
It's a big ask.
So yeah, it is a really big ask, but for me, it's worth it.
You said you came into the job pre-children, so obviously you have children now. How did you navigate that? Was that smooth, clunky, easy, hard, and getting back to operational duties afterwards?
My first child was hard. He's 4 now, so I was only on call at the time. And he came along. I had a caesarean section, so I had to recover from that. That was not easy. It was an emergency one, so there was a lot of trauma involved. But I did come back. He was about 15 months when I came back operationally. I did come back on light duties before that, but because of breastfeeding, you can't be operational. So,
really?
Because of contaminants. It's a big thing. It's, you can't wear BA sets. You can't. I'm not. Well, even now, I'm still on light duties at the minute for my second child. You're not allowed on the trucks because of contaminants. Although the trucks are supposed to be contaminant free, they've got BA sets.
That's such an irony, isn't it? On one side of the coin, we go, "Oh no, it's safe, it's safe, it's safe." Oh, actually, no, don't you go there because it's not really safe. But like,
how much should I say?
Pretend it's it's like don't say it's.
I'm not allowed. So I'm not allowed my kit in the dirty kit room. My kit has to be in a separate kit room at the moment.
Really?
Yeah. And that a little
but that
bit is
unconsciously
a cliche,
creates a bit of a void between you and the rest of the team. They say they're doing it for the best of intention. It's not a reflection on your service, but we've done loads of episodes on contamination and most absorbable areas, the groin, your neck, the trouble with the PPE, the fact that it's only getting out something like 30% of the contaminants when we put it into the wash. It's a real...
Oh, really?
Yeah, so go back and listen to an episode that we did with Hunter Apparel. They're doing some LCO2 decontamination because the water-resistant fibres that sit within this, so there's many layers to fire kit. We just think we'll wash it with water and make it really hot. Right, but if you've got a water-resistant, non-permeable layer in there, that's where the contaminant gets trapped. And there's no way to get that out unless you use a different washing method. But you go, we'll just wash it for longer, or we'll wash it hotter. No, you're missing the point. You're not going to lift that contamination out of there. So most washes only get 30%. That's if you wash it on your own, on its own.
Wow.
So you go to send it away to a lot of these places, they'll wash it with 2 or 3 sets of kit. That continually gets worse to the point where it's something like 70% of the decontamination. It looks clean and it might even smell clean, but within the layers itself is where the contamination sits, and that really worries me for women.
Hole with contaminants at the moment.
Honestly, we've done some big episodes with it, and we'll share them again, but people have a look back. So you're coming back from your second child now. Is this the first time at WFS, or have you been before? Or
this is my third time at WFS, yes, but I haven't been for 5 years. Last time I came, I was heavily pregnant with my first child.
Okay.
So I'm 6 months postpartum with my second child. I came back off of maternity last week. So I'm on light duties whole time and on call at the moment. this has just been the perfect timing to come back and to be able to come to an environment like this and do workshops and speak to other women that have been doing the same thing and have a weekend where you can just be yourself and talk about everything that you're worried about, everything that you need help with. It's been amazing.
What's been your favourite workshop, if you had to pick one?
Oh,
If you forced you into a corner and say, which one's been
instant
your
command
best?
all day long.
Yeah?
Yeah, it's my next route. I'm going to hopefully go for my level 1 soon. So
100%.
it's
What sort of insights for people that have never been or don't know what that workshop is like? Maybe they missed it this year or they didn't come to the event. What did you get a chance to do and what was kind of involved in it?
So the classroom based was talking through the decision-making model and decision-making process of your level 1, well, of instant commands, not just level 1, but all through the ranks. And we had the DEP of Staffordshire Fire and Rescue Service, who is a 5'0" lady, lovely lady called Michelle, who is absolutely amazing.
She's on my list to get on the podcast. Michelle's great.
Yeah, she has been such an inspiration, and she just stood there and she talked about command presence, and she said, how can someone who is 5'0" with a tab bar that comes down to their knees, you know, an instant command tab, I'd have command presence, and she just debunked
those
a lot
non-verbal cues, that posture, that assertiveness,
Absolutely.
that command presence is something that sometimes gets pasted with male, toxicity and all that sort of stuff, but it's not, because it's all just about your general presence, and people should be able to see who's in charge of an incident, and it's all about how you control a room.
And having the right fitting tabard.
Yes.
She said, get a personal issue tabard. Do not be afraid to ask for one, because
100%.
why should you have one that comes down to your knees?
Love it.
Yes, so we did that in the classroom, and then we went on the XVR. So I got to run through an XVR incident, which was really good, really useful.
Yeah?
Yeah, thoroughly enjoyed it.
Awesome.
Even if you're not thinking about going for your level 1 or anything, just give it a go. It
Gives you
you
that
an
zoom
idea
out, doesn't
of what
it?
your
Yeah,
boss
yeah.
is up against day in, day out when you're jumping on the pump. So
I think it's so beneficial for every firefighter to go on that course, just to get a holistic view of all of the moving pieces of an incident and what's going through that person's head.
yes,
I think it's super
absolutely.
fun. Awesome. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. I enjoyed that. It was fun.
I am Tom Westcott. I'm an operational watch commander with Surrey Fire and Rescue Service.
Good stuff, my friend. So, you and I have been coming to stuff like this for a long time. I mean, I've come to WFS many times, but people will say, what the bloody hell are you doing at the WFS event? What on earth are you doing there? Are you just trying to get a promotion? Or are we doing it?
No, not at all, not at all. You can't see me. This is a podcast. I'm a 6'7" white male in the fire service.
You and I, the stereotypical meatheads.
I'm about as privileged as you get, really. But that's not the reason I do the job. It's just by chance that we are big blokes. I think I'm really fortunate to be able to acknowledge that privilege and realise that I can probably use it in a positive way. And those that are around me in the workplace that may not have had the opportunity to recognise how good women are at doing this job, if I can learn at these sorts of events and go away and then impart that knowledge and even encourage them to come along, because the reality is I've taken part yesterday in a few different scenarios. I did the multi-incident scenario, we did 2 BA hot wares and then an RTC session, and the standard at which the girls are operating is incredible. And seeing people from different services that have never worked together come together and achieve something, maybe it's their communication is better.
Mate, they genuinely are. Because you make a great point there. I think people think we all start at the same start point. And we don't, because you and I came into the job. And actually, we already had a lot of unspoken benefits.
Absolutely.
We had a dad or a brother or an uncle that did a job. They were a mechanic, a builder. Yeah. We had some skills. We were this, we were that. But I feel like girls don't start at the start line. You know, a lot of women that come into the fire service, they're almost on a running start because they've had to do a lot even to get to the start line.
And that's the thing. They shouldn't have. It shouldn't be more difficult for them to join.
Even just get to the start line, it's so hard.
Absolutely.
Some people,
I look at it as the sort of fruit tree analogy. So we're tall chaps. If there's fruit hanging from a tree, it's easy for me to reach it. It doesn't mean I deserve the fruit any more than them. We've just 100%. Got to give them the step ladder in order to reach that fruit.
I always use that analogy. You ever seen the one with equity and equality?
No. Do tell me more.
So there's a photo of 3 people stood in front of a fence that they can't see over, okay? Tall, medium, short person, and they go, hey, equality, let's give them all a box, Give them all a box. One of them can definitely see all the way over. The short guy can't see anything at all, whereas equity is giving 3 boxes, 2 box, no box, and now everyone can see at the same height.
And
it's like, oh, we'll all if you and I, they say, all right, going to give everybody size 5 shoes. Okay, great. You think that's equality, but I'm size 13. You're size God knows what. Yeah. You give me a size pair of shoes. I can't run the same race as you. Absolutely. And that's what I see when we see women coming to fire. So it's like, give them all a chance, give them all the same shit. It's like, well, no, people sometimes need different things.
Yeah, so it's making those reasonable adjustments, or just at least acknowledging them. there are so many things in this job that a smaller person we're better at, and
100%.
we're very quick to acknowledge. Do you know what? We probably wouldn't send Pete or Tom into a tight space because
it'd be no point.
It'd be a losing battle.
No, but it's fair. Give them a chance. Yeah, but tools for the toolbox.
Also, how much of our job now is ops? It's
This is
probably
what I'm
running
saying,
at
mate.
less than 5%.
Women have such a better emotional intelligence. They're often so much
I
better
met
at building
some
rapport.
guys with some really good emotional intelligence. So I'm not taking that away from them.
Yeah.
But at the same time, we should be utilising all the skills for the full wide range. Really nice. I was actually instructing yesterday. We're in a team, all women. So I brought in last minute as a BA instructor. And the instructing team, again, the communication, the professionalism, the want to deliver the training. There was no big egos. And I know anyone that listens to this as a BAR, you're going to think, oh, what do you mean? But you know it.
Yeah.
There is that, I'm a BAR, I do live fire.
Yeah.
There's
I stand here, you listen.
Yeah,
I am the
there's-
God of knowledge. You're welcome.
I'm
Be
not
grateful for
I'm
being
not
in the
that-
room with me.
I'm not that person.
But it's
I'm
so
not that
much
person.
like that.
But we're very I haven't got anything to prove.
Yeah.
So I came here open-minded. I could have sat there and gone, oh, hang on a minute, I'm a guy, you're addressing ladies.
Yeah.
But do you know what? It was really nice to put myself out here, to put myself out there this weekend and be the only guy in the room, predominantly the only guy. It's good to see you here as well. But there are 200 or 300 women in that room.
Yeah.
And the positivity for what is an underrepresented group as a whole in the service, and to be the odd one out, it was daunting. You're here in a pink
It's nice,
tunic.
isn't it?
You're obviously
Mate, I'm
used to
there
it.
willing to look the idiot all the time.
Exactly. But it was really nice to be the odd one out, and to be put in that uncomfortable position and think, this is what they go through day to day.
This is
to
their
make
everyday.
money. This is their career. I'm here on a jolly, learning
one-off.
lots as
Yeah.
a one-off, and I'm nervous.
You're in an environment that's designed to be welcoming as well. Sometimes you go into some
And
stations,
do you
some
know what?
watches.
They have been so welcoming.
Yeah.
To attend this event, I feel very privileged, and I'll come again. And I will recommend it to any male I would recommend to any male, female, or individual within a fire service. If you've got the ability to attend a Women in the Fire Service event, do it. And I think what is crazy, I do call myself a bit of a feminist, Pete. I think what is crazy is that they are fighting for more rights that affect us as men. So they improve our working conditions sometimes than men do.
Yep, 100%.
So feminists are fighting against all those things that is effectively a system created by men where it's not okay to speak out about mental health.
We were so stuck in our own bias before.
Absolutely.
Created our own problems.
So working on gender bias, working on racial bias, we're moving in the right direction.
100%.
And I'm going to go back to station, and I'm afraid I am going to be continuing to call out anything that I deem as inappropriate. I don't want to lose friends, and I'm sure I won't, because I'm fortunate enough to have some really
No,
good
but I
male
say
and-
to people, it's like I'm heading north. If we're all heading north, it's absolutely fine. But if all of a sudden you start heading west, I don't want to fall out with you, but that's your decision that you chose to act that way. I've not changed. I'm not going to knee-jerk away from you, but if we're heading that direction and you all of a sudden put off the left, I'm not going to go with you.
We're going different places.
Because then I'm subconsciously permitting and promoting exactly what you're doing.
No, that's
what I'm
it.
about.
That's absolutely it.
Tom, lovely
Pete's
time,
been lovely
mate. Thank you,
speaking
brother.
to you. Thank you very much. And where can I get a pink tunic? Thank you.
Mana, do, 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 do. Mana. Do, do, do. You know I'm going to leave that in, right?
Wrong and not to.
For anybody that lives on Mars, just give us a reminder of who you are.
So I'm Alex Johnson, a retired Chief Fire Officer from South Yorkshire Fire and Rescue
You're so
Service.
much more than that. You've done so much more than that. I know you are. But
I'm also patron of Women in the Fire Service.
you're a lover of horses. You're a mum. You're a friend.
Yeah, all that too.
And all that too.
I'm Danny Cotton, retired Commissioner of London Fire Brigade, also patron of WFS, also patron of PTSD 999. I'm also an ambassador for the UK Women's Rugby Team, and I'm also an ambassador for the Antarctica Fire Angels, and I'm also a mad cat lady in my spare time.
Spare
and
time? I thought that was your main job.
And I've also got tortoises.
Have you really?
Not necessarily out of choice, inherited them from my
I was
grandmother.
about to say, that's the thing with them, isn't it? You'd end up tending to inherit the things because they live longer than we do sometimes.
Absolutely. So my grandmother, bless her, who died a little while ago, a couple of months ago, at the age of 100, left them to me in her will.
At least you left them somebody, because some people put them in their lofts and then you never see them
That's
again. It's
just
horrible,
mean.
isn't it? You two look bushed. Whilst you look beautifully bushed, you look bushed. It has been a heck of a weekend. I constantly keep coming to these things. I was saying to Catherine earlier that every year you're like, oh my God, wow. can't get any better than this. And then you're still living in that bubble where you don't realise that so many people still don't know. Some people, it was their first time here this weekend. What was your favourite part of the weekend?
Oh, I think it's seeing all the new ones come that have never been before. They're not sure what they're coming to. Yeah. And then watching them as the weekend goes on get more and more confident and watching them meet other people. And it's just, it really, I go home, yes, I'm bushed, but I find it quite emotional watching them all. It's just wonderful.
How long into the weekend do you think it takes people to fully relax and truly start embracing it? Because it's new people, it's new things, you're getting asked to do stuff you've never done before, and it's scary for some people, or a lot of people.
Yeah, and I think the fact, the icebreaker on Friday helps break down some barriers because people are in mixed teams, then a bit of a social Friday night. And I think by the time Saturday workshops start, there's always the fear and trepidation of what you're going to do and performing in front of other people. And I think the moment they realise this is the atmosphere where it's safe, and they can learn, and there's no criticism, there's feedback, there's support, but nobody's going to go back to them and say you were rubbish. Nobody's taking it back to their service, so they can actually fly free, learn, develop, and just take those opportunities that they wouldn't dare do sometimes in their own service.
That's the thing, isn't it? It's that real safe environment. It was surprising. We had a few of the attendees come and have a go on the Firefighter Challenge course, and then lo and behold, you two got hold of it and grabbed me by the collar, and everybody else said, "Oh, we're doing this next year. Let's do it bigger. Let's do it better." But it's another, whilst it's a physical thing, it's an easy example of something where people would perhaps never have a go at something like that. Ops, non-ops, it doesn't matter. But when you do it in a safe environment, it was great to see how many of them just got so excited about it as well.
Yeah, and I think once they realised that there was no kind of failure on it,
yeah,
all they could do was do their very best and actually next time set themselves a target to do even better. And, they just said, we didn't realise that, that we thought we had to do it within the time limit, but actually we could do it and over, and then we could just improve on it the next time and build on it. And it really fired them up. And I think there's been, I suppose somewhat in the Firefighter Challenge, because there's this kind of, some of the imaging looks very,
it's people like
really
me
strong.
Looking like stereotypical knuckle dragging, bold 6'5" firefighters, and you go, Jesus.
Yeah, and they think I won't do that. And actually, for all the right reasons, the reason women should get into it is about maintaining their fitness, about being fit for their job and being good at their job. And I think that's been a really good in. And the aspect of having it next year, we can actually do it, with different age bands, different abilities. And I want people who've never thought of doing something like that to come along and just give it a go and realise what they can do. Alex and I had a chat about the fact we'd love to have done it had we both got really bad backs.
I think when we do it next year, if we get a chance to do a relay, because when we do the relays with the British and stuff like that, we get the sponsors or the partners put a team together. So I would float the opportunity for some of our leaders to get together in a team of 4
we do a leg of it
and casually
we could get Kath out there,
make their way through it.
Kath doing all the hard stuff, and we'll run up and down. we could be the cheerleaders.
Yeah, absolutely. This sounds good to me. And one of the things that I really reflect on this weekend that has been amazing was when I did my standing keynote speech on Friday. The bit where
you were voluntold for that, weren't you?
Yes, exactly. That's by Alex, ironically. The bit where I asked them all how many of them had been born in or after 1988, the year I joined the fire service, and probably over 50% of the delegates put their hands up. And you think to yourself, part of you thinks, gosh, I'm really old, but the other part thinks, how fabulous is that? There are all these amazing young women, and we're out today on the fire ground watching the RTC training, and then when they went out to the incident ground, the 2 incident commanders who had volunteered, one of them with trepidation, had both got 8 months in each. Wow. And they were volunteering to lead a crew of complete strangers to do an RTC exercise. I mean, an opportunity they'd never get anywhere else.
Never.
But the confidence this weekend they got to just step into that space was phenomenal.
That's the big thing to me. We wouldn't have done that. No. It'd be like, well, I've only done 4 years. I'm not ready to be an incident commander. And you're seeing these young women and men stepping up and having a go. And that's partly because of like Danny said, the safe environment. But I think, young people are coming into the service now with different expectations.
100%.
And
different expectations, different job.
Yeah, most definitely. And just watching them with this confidence, they are the next generation of firefighters. And it was just wonderful to see him stepping into that, what I would have found a really scary thing to do at that stage in my career. So, wonderful.
Danny, it is your birthday today.
Yay!
Or yesterday, sorry.
Today.
Today. 35 again.
Always.
Who'd have thunk it?
Precisely.
Another year, managed to steal that. But you've made some great points there on the generational aspect and the job now. You have both been able to see from inside, outside, helicoptered it, seen it from all angles, the change in evolution of the firefighting role, the organisational structure, the demands from the service, the change of what we actually do. What do you think the type of environment firefighters are coming into now? Because you both had pressures very different, but also no better or worse. It was probably far more male masculinity, toxicity when you came in. It's still dormant now, but equally people are facing a whole host of challenges that perhaps you didn't have back then.
Yeah, and I think that, there are aspects of the job now, and I think it's generational anyway. I think things like social media and pressures from that, I think young people are under more pressure in a different way than we ever were. And I think that's reflected, and it can only ever reflect in the people we recruit into the organisation, because they are young people, they are from that generation. I think they have a greater expectation in some ways, which I think isn't unreasonable. Yeah. But sometimes I also think they don't necessarily always have a realistic expectation. Yes. And I think some of them find coming into the world of work, especially in a structured, disciplined organisation like the fire service, quite challenging for them.
And we do want to keep some of that discipline, or a lot of it. We don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater and label it all as toxic culture, because it's not. We do a very important, dangerous jobs at times, not always. And when that does happen, and Danny, you'll know this better than anybody, we need that structure. We need to be able to rely on each other. You both have great command presence. That doesn't make you toxic or bullying or anything like that. It's about knowing when to have the tools for the job, I suppose.
I think it's about preparing them for joining the fire service. Okay. When we joined, people shouted at us. We marched everywhere. We called everybody sir, and it was sir because there was no ma'ams. Yeah. Whereas now I think, yes, we still need an element of discipline. When somebody says do something, they need to not stand there going, oh, well, why is that? Yeah. But, them understanding why we need that discipline element, and, why we need to be smart, and because we're public servants and that sort of thing. So I think it's about just helping young people understand a bit more, something that we just got dropped into and didn't know any different. Yeah.
And I think with the greatest of respect, like most people wouldn't have survived that. I'm not saying either of you are better or worse than anybody else, but that kind of drop shock, it's blind luck if you made it through the filter of crazy information demands and everything else. You could have. I always think to myself, how many people didn't achieve their desired dream of becoming a firefighter because of a poor process, a poor onboarding, lack of education, lack of a neurodiverse way of teaching, and you two made it narrowly through the gap in the middle. But a lot of people probably won't. I'm hoping we've got better at that.
I think we've got better, but I don't think we're there yet. No. And I think there are still issues around. There is still the situation where if you are a young woman, do you feel confident to knock on your local fire station door and say, hey, I'm thinking of joining? Because young men will, and young women are still a bit more, those big red doors hold a scary group 100%. Of people behind them, and actually it can be quite challenging. So I think, there are things we need to break down. I think there's a better link into our communities that needs to be developed to ensure that the right people are thinking about the job, because I think we're still fishing in too small a pool.
Absolutely.
And we're missing out on huge amounts of talent.
Yeah.
I was actually really heartened on Friday night when one of our young person award winners and spoke to her about what she wanted to do, and she said, I want to be a chief officer. And I thought, how phenomenal is that for a young person to look at that, and for a young woman, how many years ago would she not even have thought,
universe, go for it. Yeah.
I want to be a firefighter. Now she's like, no, I want to be a chief officer. That's just fab, isn't it?
If you don't believe in it, no one else is going to believe in you.
Yeah,
You've
absolutely.
got to have that healthy, self-awareness, but healthy ego. People hear ego and they think, oh, ego, you fully self. No, but if you don't believe in yourself, no one else is going to. No. You've got to believe you've at least got what it takes.
Yeah. No, it was good, and she was so aware of what she needs to do. She's done cadets,
wasn't naive
she's
optimism,
doing volunteering. She's also from a black minority ethnic background. So, to see that young girl aspire to be a chief, and she knows what she's got to do.
I would be remiss if we didn't say that WFS is, in fact, much bigger than just this event this weekend. So I did make a couple of notes from the AGM, which I'd love to speak to you about. So talk to me about some of the success I've had in the Women's Development Programme, obviously the NFCC Culture Conference work, and Alex has done some work with Practice to Progress as well. Give people a whistle-stop tour in case they haven't headed over to the website or they haven't seen something. So, give us a little bit of familiarity on those pieces.
So the Practice to Progress is picking up on what the police have done for many years about supporting people through promotion processes. So there is now a fire Practice to Progress where people can have some coaching, some mentoring about interview techniques and teasing out of people all the good things they've done, but they don't realise they've done.
Yeah, we're very self-deprecating, aren't we? We don't like saying, oh, me this, me that. It feels like self-promotion, but it's not. It's just honest.
You talk to people about, so, when have you done something that you've had to plan for? And they go, well, I'm not really responsible, but I did do this. Right, so what did you have to do?
Yeah.
Oh, so you had to think about funding and you had to think about timescales. And what they don't realise is that they have worked on a project.
The story's in there. It's just helping them how to tell it.
So it's helping them sort of formulate their responses and think about things that they've done that are worthy of, telling somebody about. Because, like you say, we sit there and go, well, I've not really done that much. And actually they have. So that's really good, and that's something that all services can access. And it's not that expensive. It's not, silly price. It's done at sort of public sector rate.
Yeah,
so
100%.
So that's something I'd encourage. And that's at all levels. That's for people that want to join the fire service. That's for firefighters wanting to go to supervisory or middle or, up to strategic level. So any level, we've got coaches and mentors to support people. So that's the practice to progress, which I'm involved in.
I think it's really important that the NFCC are now, taking WFS as a very serious partner. So we're talking about the Culture Conference, we were invited to be a part of that, to be part of the platform and the stage. This really, really pivotal moment, I think, for the fire service. It is definitely our Me Too moment, where there's so much...
Because historically they kind of just tipped the hat, didn't they? It was like a polite acknowledgement, but you weren't really part of the conversation. That was, I'm sitting on the outside looking in, I don't know, but that's what it kind of felt like.
Yeah, and it's varied depending on who's been involved. It used to be CFOA. We used to have some very actively involved chiefs from that who were really keen on having our opinion. Then it just sort of waned a bit. But I think now, the recognition that we are so influential, we have a voice on behalf of women, and that we can actually be part of that, and that they can come to us and ask our opinion and ask for our help. And I think that's vitally important, that they're recognising our role.
Do you want to join us for a final bit, my love? So we were just saying about WFS being far bigger than just this weekend, and we were speaking about the Women's Development Programme. Could you help us understand a little bit more about, for people that haven't read it, haven't been on the website, what it's all about and some of the great work that's happened in the last year?
Yeah, so we work with an organisation called Women to Work. They designed a programme that is specifically around a fire-specific women's development programme, which is delivered over 3 half-day sessions, about a month apart. We did run the programme before COVID, and where people had to physically come together.
Okay.
But one of the advantages we've noticed is that we can now run the sessions online, and that is people's preference. We offer them the option. But that means we can draw people from different areas geographically.
Overcomes that massive logistical challenge, doesn't it, that people face? Because I know a lot of people want to come to things like this, and we did have some international travellers as well this year, didn't we? We had people come from, I spoke to 3 ladies from Sweden, and there's people from all over the world.
New Zealand,
yeah, it's one of those things that if you don't have that opportunity, or you're not an affluent service or something like that, then that's a big thing to overcome, whereas I think far more people would want to be engaged if they had the opportunity to virtually.
Yeah, I think so. And specifically on Barbara, she's come over from New Zealand because she is working on setting up an organisation like Women in the Fire Service. So her aim is to bring this training and development event to New Zealand. So she attended a number of workshops, dipped in, and has just taken lots of ideas, taken presentations
Pages
from people.
Of notes and
absolutely, and so she wants to bring this event to New Zealand.
Isn't it crazy when you really zoom out like that and you look socioeconomically and socially across the world, like we're all at different levels of maturity when it comes to inclusiveness and equality and recognising the differences in each other. Because Sweden have been going for 11 years, their WFS, but they'd never come to this, they didn't know anything about it, and then we hear like this, the first time they're ever going to try and do it, whereas, when was the first one of these? I remember
1996, the first big conference here.
So we're 26 years in now, 27 years in, sorry, but still other people are so much in their infancy.
And we were all here.
Yes, we were, which is quite a testament, isn't it? So, and I think that, and it depends, some of it is about a willingness, and then you talk to some of the women from Europe, and they've got women who are not actually allowed to be operational firefighters in still a large number of European countries. So I spoke to a woman who had actually moved to the UK because she really wanted to be a firefighter.
How much do you want it?
Yeah, how much do you want it? Move country so you can do your job. That's amazing, isn't it? But the fact that it still seemed not an appropriate profession for women in Europe, in this day and age is quite astounding.
And it doesn't diminish the challenges that we face in the UK, but we are incredibly lucky to be in a society that gives us these things and that we are so much further along than other places. If I could force you into a corner and ask you kind of one takeaway, again, for people that have never been, or perhaps it's the first time they're ever hearing about WFS, one takeaway from the weekend or one thing you would encourage people to come that they could take away with them?
So for me, I think it would be about challenging yourself, about coming along and doing something that you might be frightened of or scared of, and doing that thing and coming away and feeling so very proud of what you've done. Because yes, it is absolutely about meeting other people. It's about networking. It's about, meeting people from right across the UK and wider. But for a lot of women, it's about coming here and doing something they wouldn't normally be able to do, wouldn't have access to, or wouldn't feel brave enough to do in their own service, achieving it and coming out of here 10 foot high and walking on clouds.
Follow that. she struck all the good
ones.
It's
not fair, is it? Why does she always have to
goes
speak
first.
She
goes first.
She's summed it all up. But
you're going to be third now.
Yeah, you've got no chance,
She's got a good one in the back pocket. Jules is ready.
I mean, I think I look at it and I remember coming to that one in 96, and without a doubt, if it wasn't for WFS, I'm not sure I'd have even stayed in the job.
Really?
Never mind, I started to see women like Danny that held rank and think, maybe I could do it. And I think we've got a picture of us. Is it in 2000? Was it 2000 or 2005? And there was 5 women officers. And as far as we knew, we were about the only ones in the country.
Wow.
Whereas you look now and you see so many.
That's great.
So I think WFS to me is that, you come here and, you just grow and you feel safe and, you have these role models to look up to. And without a doubt, WFS made me put my big girl pants on, stand up to some not very pleasant people.
Yeah.
And I ended up a chief. So, something good's come out of it.
Something in there, whether that was 80%, 20% or 10%.
Yeah,
it was
some of it was me, but a lot of it was the support and having, people like these 2 wonderful women here that I could ring up and go, and then go, and breathe. Right, you finished. Now, what we're going to do about it?
They say it takes a village to raise a child, don't they? And there's not all just one person. It's little touch points, little fingerprints from everybody.
And people have left today with contact numbers, where they've got a challenge, whatever it may be, whether it be personal or something on station, and they know, we'll be there for them.
Yeah, I love it. You ready to come back in? Go on, George, take us home.
Yeah, Danny and Alex have summed it up really, really lovely. I suppose for me it will be about how to make sure that you capture the energy and the confidence that people are feeling right here, right now.
Permeates from everybody when you hear it.
How do we make sure that people return to services and they can keep that energy, keep those support groups? This feels like a really lovely, safe space.
Yeah.
And actually, what we need to do is maybe just be a little bit better about creating that safe space when we're not physically together. Mm-hmm. And that is across our different groups. Like you say, that there would have been contacts made with people doing maybe similar type roles, and the benefit of having a conversation with someone away from your service so you can speak freely, share that vulnerability and not have any concerns about that coming back. So I think for me it's just how do you keep that feeling and that support that really make a difference.
I think you're surrounded by radiators when you come to some places like this, and then you've got to go home and avoid the drains, which is really, really difficult, those energy vampires that sometimes lurk in the darkness. Ladies, thank you so much for that. Absolutely loved it, and can't wait to see you all next year.
Thanks,
Pete. Cheers.
Firefighters Podcast is put together to develop, inspire, and hopefully even motivate those individuals who have chosen to serve our communities and be part of the first responder family. It's brought to you by myself, Operational Firefighter Pete Wakefield. If you have enjoyed today's episode and you want to see the podcast continuing, please head over to our Patreon page where you can support the ongoing efforts of the podcast. Please hit that follow, subscribe, or rate button on whatever platform you're listening to. Please support your emergency services responders, and thank you for listening.